So since I had this chess set out, that is a Soviet chess set, I thought it was nice to show you some of the great games by the young Kasparov. This book is written by Grandmaster Henley. It's really, honestly, a little gem because Grandmaster Henley explains things very well inside the book. He really made use of the diagrams wisely, the maneuvers, the ideas behind the moves. So he did a great job. He really makes the game come alive, okay? In my opinion. And one of the things that he tells you is one of the best ways to build a solid foundation in improving chess is to study the complete games of the great players. And here we can watch 7 games played by Kasparov. Game number 1 was Sembat Luputian against Garry Kasparov. Sorry if I didn't pronounce the white name correctly. Played in the Caucasus Youth Game in Tbilisi in 1976. Luputian starts with d4, knight f6, so Kasparov is black, okay? c4, g6, knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6. Now we have a young Kasparov that plays the King's Indian defense, which I think is probably an influence from Robert James Fischer, Bobby Fischer. Probably one of the greatest champions ever. Let's see how it continues. f3. White adopts the highly respected Samish variation where the pawn on f3 provides additional support for the white pawn on e4 and keeps black pieces off the g4 square. King's Indian advocates will, however, point out that the early advance of a white f-pawn also potentially weakens the dark square diagonal, okay? So obviously the a7, g1 and the h4, e1. And this is why I like the book, you see, because Grandmaster Henley really explained the things well. It's very easy to follow him. Knight c6. Garry chooses a very provocative system which tries to lure the white d-pawn forward into attacking the black knight on c6. Bishop e3, a6. Played with a view towards one day obviously playing b5, right? Queen d2, and this is important, it's called the battery. White sets up the standard queen d2, bishop e3 battery, which may one day allow to play this, right? That exchange of the bishop helps white because if you have exchange this and your queen is here, you understand you just need to remove this defender in order to give a possible checkmate. So that's the reason why it's important, this battery and this exchange, because obviously black will castle there, right? And now we see that black continue with rook b8. So he tries to play on the queen side while white is playing on the king side. Rook b1. We can see white is very ambitious as the text move prepares b4 to expand on the queen side. However, the text move loses more time. So from this game we also understand the importance of time, and does nothing to secure the white center or complete the king side development. Here is not developed at all, so instead of playing this, he should have played something here, right? So let's see how it continued. Black continued with castle. Gary gets his king safely tucked away on the wing before commencing action in the center. And here we can see that white probably had the wrong plan, because he plays b4. White continues with his time-consuming queenside ambition. As you can see, the idea in the opening is that you need to develop all your pieces. Here we are not developing, and it's strange because I'm sure this Elpushian must be a strong player, especially, you know, in the former Soviet Union they really love chess, so obviously they really had a lot of literature, players, probably they had TV programs that we didn't have, also in the 1970s, so that's why. Okay, so what do you think Black did at this point? At this point, the white king is in the center, black wants to open the center. And this is a typical game that you would find in Morphy, Stanitz. When they see that the opponent is behind in development, they start to sack some pawns or something to try to attack the king. So the next move is e5. And here, obviously, Grandmaster Henley put his note that is quite focused. A classic principle in chess, first mentioned by world chess champion Wilhelm Steinitz in the 1870s. An attack on the wing should be met by a counter-attack in the center. And as you can see, in the book, he even show you the diagram with the counter-attack in the center. So you see, every diagram he has put a kind of subtitle which help you remember the ideas that probably you will play also in your game. So it's giving a great chess lesson. d5, with his king still in the center, in the middle of the board, white tries to keep the position close. The alternatives would also have allowed Gary a comfortable position. So also if white would have played this, it would have been good for black. But let's see what happens after d5 and how black is able to open this tin of sardines. Knight d4. The fourth of Gary pieces crosses into enemy territory. Knight g e2. White naturally seeks to exchange off the intruder. Okay, so and here again you see the diagram challenging the black knight. So he put diagrams a lot and put them to remember ideas, because one thing you could do if you like Kasparov is to learn by memorizing his game. Like we said in another video, Tal was able to remember games from 2-3 years before and remember everything about them, so maybe we need to do the same, okay? Okay, so how did it continue? After knight g e2, it seems that to play bishop takes d4 was not a good idea. Can you see white? Let me show you why. By the way, one amazing thing of this book, he has the diagram oriented from the black side, so he's showing you really Kasparov. That's why it's great, because you could follow this book without a chessboard. So that I really like it a lot. Now let's try to understand what happens. If white plays this, obviously he didn't play because probably he didn't want to lose the bishop pair. But after this and this, what would you play as black? And this you really need to understand it, because if you just watch games, for watching games you are not going to learn anything. Instead you need to watch a game asking yourself some questions in some particular situations. Here you are black, tell me what you would play. Obviously pause the video and see. Now, if you have paused the video, you discover some tactical elements in this position. once more, the king is here, right? And the queen is here. You see this guy, right? And you see this guy. So the move is this, because he's attacking this, but he's also threatening rook e8, right? So that's really amazing, right, of this situation. Obviously, if you play queen takes e4, this is bad. And what do you do at this point? Because if you don't play that, this is gonna go down, right? Or you lose, if you take here, you lose the queen. So you have to take there, I don't know. In any case, I think the game is gone kind of bad, right? So please be careful, because as you can see, there are a lot of tactics in the King's Indian, and it can be very, very dangerous, especially against these guys like Kasparov, right? Okay, so in the game instead it wasn't played bishop takes d4, but it was played knight g e2. After knight g e2, once more it's black. Obviously black doesn't want to play knight takes e2 because you are giving white a tempo. You are not going to do that no matter what. This is an outpost, right? An outpost in the enemy territory, so you don't want to lose it. So clearly, what is the move you would play is c5. And after d takes c6, this is called en passant, there is b takes c6. Obviously, white has given back away this pawn because he needs to take this out. It's very annoying, that knight there, right? So he continues with knight takes d4, e takes d4, bishop takes d4. So you could say that now you count the material and you say, wait a minute, 3, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, white has an advantage because he has one pawn advantage. And then notice also this is bad because it's isolated. Yes, all true, but white is kind of behind in development, and the king's safety is a problem. So obviously, what do you do when you have watched enough of Morphy and Stennick's game? You know that the next move is rook e8. Okay, white continues with bishop e2. Finally, he completes his kingside development and prepare to castle, because that's the most important thing, right? But does he have enough time? Maybe not. c5, boom, a sacrifice again. Again, in the beginning of the game, the pawns are not important, and even some pieces are not important, because you have a goal. The goal of the game is to give checkmate. That's why they call me Mr. Checkmate, because I give checkmate. And the material is not important. Of course, if this was an endgame, yeah, the thing is totally different. But in the middle game, yeah, you have to create a problem to your opponent, and this is it, in my opinion. Why? Because, you see, he's also trying to open up the diagonal. So it's not only the files that you want to open up, but also the diagonal. And that's why this book is great. You see, Grandmaster Henley found a game that tell you all of this story, and it's an amazing story, right? So we should try to learn by heart this game by Garry Kasparov, because it's a beautiful, beautiful game which is teaching us a lot, a lot. Now, after this move, once more, I want you to pause the video. Pause the video for at least 5 minutes. You calculate 5 minutes, you put your phone there with a timer for 5 minutes, and you tell me what is the next move by black. Try not to check the book, because I know that some of you like to cheat. and check the book and so on. Don't do it. Okay, so what do you think Black played? Black continue with knight takes, boom, e4. Amazing move, right? Amazing move. Here it says, this is a knight sacrifice. This was one of the most brilliant and impressive game of Gary's youth, as the chessboard suddenly explodes. Notice, this game was played in 1976. They didn't have computers, they didn't have nothing, they only had their memory, their brain, and their heart, because you need to be courageous enough to sacrifice this. But what is the goal of this sacrifice? Obviously, it opens the e-file, it opens the diagonal on g7, c3, okay, and it opens also this. Also this diagonal that I told you in the beginning, right? So that's amazing. It became true. Remember also that there is also this file that is open. So it's a crazy game, a crazy beautiful game. Obviously white takes back. What would you do now as black? Once more, as you can see, if you just watch this video for having easy answer or for passively watch the video, you are not going to learn chess, you are not going to improve. But our goal here is also chess improvement. I just do the videos because I love to play the games over the chessboard with my own chess sets, because I have a ton of them from different historical periods, and for me it's enjoyable just to do that. It's a very fun activity. That is what would be fun, and I cannot explain it to anyone else, because if you are not a chess set collector and if you don't love chess, you will not understand it. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. But for those of you that watch chess videos because you want to improve, it's also right that you get something out of it, right? So please tell me, what is the next black move? Okay? Try again, pause the video, 5 minutes, find the next black move. The next black move is queen h4. Another amazing move, right? Now, obviously, white blocks the check. Blocking the check and seemingly gaining tempo by attacking Gary queen, right? What is, again, once more, I ask you, what is black move next? You pause the video and think. Pause the video and think. The next move is what we call Zwischenzug. I hope that my chairman is good. If it is not, well, complain to someone else. Or it's also called intermezzo, in between. So, black's next move is rook takes b1, check. And this move gains a critical tempo. A very critical tempo. Because if you take and it takes back, is attacking your rook and your knight, and probably you cannot defend everything, right? So he played king f2, which is the right move. Let's see what happened here. At this point, again, I tell you, you have to pause the video and maybe think even 10 minutes, because the next move is brilliant by black, and it's what we call deflection in chess. So as you can see, we learn about the intermezzo, the Zwischenzug. Okay, it didn't come out right this time. But now we learn about another tactical theme, that is the deflection. What is the deflection? What do you want to deflect? It's boom, rook b2. The brilliant text move is a tempo-saving deflection sacrifice, which attempts to lure the white queen away from the defense of the white bishop, that is the dark square bishop. And simply moving with queen b3 wouldn't help, because it would allow white to recapture the queen, the rook, sorry. And so recapturing the rook is not good, right? So that's why this was the move needed. Now you understand, probably probably Kasparov calculated all of this at least 4 moves ago, 4 or 5 moves ago, because what I know about this world champion material players is that they can see easily at 4 moves, keep in their mind the visualization of the board and multiple variation, visualize multiple variation, okay? So obviously capturing this, it's very bad, right? And so white goes for g takes h4, sorry, g takes h4, which is continued by rook takes d2, bishop takes g7, and king takes g7. The fireworks have subsided, and Gary has emerged with a material advantage of a rook for only a knight and a 1 pawn. So let's see how the game finished, because obviously the surprises are not over. Again, I tell you, this is a game you want to memorize to impress also your friends about chess, right? It's similar to Bayern versus Fischer, that has been one of the most commentated and annotated games of all times. I don't know if I pronounced Bayern correctly, but Fischer I did, for sure. Okay, king e3, rook c2, Gary gains a time attacking their protected horse or knight. It depends how you want to consider him. Everybody likes to pretend they are a knight, but maybe they are just a horse. King d3, white defends his loose knight and attacks Gary rook. And now is not finished. You need to finish over this guy, right? You need to beat him, to beat the crap out of him. How do you do that? How do you win this game? Well, now you learn about the exchange sacrifice. The exchange sacrifice is when you give a higher value piece for something less. Rook takes c3. Gary is always on the lookout for opportunities to convert his material advantage into a clearly superior endgame, because all these Grandmaster players, they want to go into an endgame that they know they will win with eyes closed, and that's what Gary Kasparov is doing here. So king takes c3 and d takes c5. Now there is a thing with the pawn structure, right? That's why you need to know about pawn structure, because this is clearly an isolated pawn and it will be the target of a relentless campaign against him. So how does they continue? With bishop d3, bishop b7, rook e1 and rook e5. You need to control and occupy with a blocker the square in front of the isolated pawn. Now, you could have learned all of this by reading a kind of boring chess treatise called My System by Ninsovic that has been reissued multiple times, and I think finally they did it in modern language, because in his own language Ninsovic is kind of abstruse, because he's writing with ideas that were common more than 100 years ago. We don't understand them, honestly. Also, some of these analogies that he makes, examples, don't make any sense, honestly. It's kind of very hard prose. Instead, with a game like this one, you are learning everything you need about chess. So yes, it's possible to learn about chess. And look, Grandmaster Andy wrote it. In the 1920s and 40s, Aaron Ninsovic was the first to write about the systematic treatment of isolated and double pawns, restrain, blockade, and then attack and destroy. Gary uses his rook to blockade the white isolated pawn. So, as you can see, what I just told you has been repeated in the book by a Grandmaster, because it's what comes to mind when you see this kind of position, right? a4. This is a kind of dubious move. maybe it was better to play rook e2. Obviously, I'm not showing you all the analysis made by Grandmaster Henley, also if they are very valuable. Why? Because you can buy the book. I'm not here really to copy the books. I'm really here just to enjoy the games, teach you something the meanwhile, and for the rest, hey, buy the book, because the author put inside his art, his time, he needs probably to eat, so let's give him a chance to put some bread on his table. F5 and rook B1. Boom. That's a kind of interesting move. That's a kind of interesting move. As you can see, this is not a miniature, something that Garry Kasparov won in less than 25 moves, but it is clearly a very good example, because it's starting to show you also the endgame. So look how many things we learn from this game, plus this, that is when you get attacked, you attack something else, okay? And of course there is the fact that the pin pawn was lost because he didn't put it here to defend this, so what do you do? No, but in any case it was lost, so once it's lost, it's lost. What do you do? Bishop takes e4 and rook b6. Again, of course, taking maybe not the very good idea. Why? Because he would have taken back with a rook and attacked this. But notice, when you go into a rook endgame, and like Grandmaster Zapata said once, he said, all the rook endgames are draw, right? I said, no, not all the rook endgames. And that's why you want to watch entire games, because they pass you the knowledge about the endgame. And these kind of endgames are kind of complicated. So we can see this master, which is Kasparov, in play, and how he solved the situation. F4, rook takes a6, F3, wow, it's going, just 2 moves and is a queen. Bishop F1, once more here Grandmaster Henley says that white best chance was to take on e4, and he justifies with a line, but I hope you will check when you buy the book. Bishop F5. This bishop retreat allows Garry Rook to come to e1 and to attack the blockading white bishop. So this has become the blockade piece, right? But what happens next is rook a7, king h6, king d2, and f2. Garry threatens once more to play rook e1, blasting the bishop out. Okay. Bishop e2. Obviously white tries to block the open file, no? Because he's trying to take away the thing. But, boom, bishop g4. This you should also have paused the video and try to find it out, I think, right? Also this is an example of deflection. You are trying to deflect the piece that is trying to block the square from promotion, from the pawn promotion, right? And obviously he doesn't exchange. But he plays this, but then the file is open and he's going to play there, right? But as you can see, white has one more incredible move, which is rook f7. Now, once again, please pause the video and try to find out what would you play if you were black. As you can see, I put the chessboard from the black side for you guys, so you can block the video, pause the video, and see what would you play if you were black. Garry Kasparov played bishop f5. Boom! Again, what is this? This is called interference. Interference, okay? Because it's interfering with this piece that is attacking the pawn f2. f5, bishop takes d3. And it was possible also to play f1 queen, right? Rook takes f2. And here Black played another great move and white resigned. Black played rook f1 and white resigned. So the final touch of this masterpiece is Gary gaining a vital tempo and connect his rook and bishop, remaining one full piece ahead of white, with obviously an endgame that everyone can win. I hope you enjoyed this game. We will see another game by Kasparov in another video. Try to find this book because it's really great. It's a beautiful book. I like it very, very much. Thank you.